Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Grumble, and we're back today with another entry in our Deathloop lore series. I wanted to delve deeper into the backstories of our esteemed visionaries, and so I just went and did. In this series, each week I'll give you the inside scoop on their characters, tidbits, and trivia you might have missed. Obviously, be aware that these videos are filled with spoilers for the game's critical path, as well as side quests. Let's go! Today, we're taking a closer look at Wenji Evans. Dr. Wenjie Evans is, in fact, an accredited scientist, a physicist. Only the credit does not belong solely to her. She plagiarized Evans' law from one of her students back on the mainland, so that's where she stands on ethics. This student had a very unfortunate lab accident, by the way, so it's not like they can blow the whistle on her now. Loop Wenji is a demanding boss who doesn't allow her quote-unquote students to experiment on their own. All her attention is focused on stabilizing the breach between timelines to be able to bring items and people into her timeline permanently. As revenge, several of the Eternalists working for her have stolen equipment and conduct experiments in Carl's Bay to supercharge the Residuum Harvester and use it to create powerful trinkets. The portable harvester allows them, or Colt if he shoots them all and steals the equipment, to harvest residuum from so-called visiting items and people. Once you use the machine to create a trinket, all hell breaks loose because Eternalists from other timelines invade the one you're in. Harvesting the residuum on top of what's lying around allows Colt to create higher tier trinkets, which can provide an edge in the early game. Wenji is furious at them. She's Aeon's chief scientist and the one who anchored the anomaly and figured out how to imbue the visionaries with the residuum necessary to stabilize the time loop. Without her, and as Charlie calls it, her oversized croquet wicket, none of this would be happening. This is why if all visionaries die within a single loop, and of course this includes Juliana and Colt themselves, then the loop collapses and linear time reasserts dominion over Blackreef. Wenji had originally planned to end the loop after 50 years, but apparently neglected to build a counter to track how many times first day has reset. Sundowning, meaning the gradual loss of all memory which affects Colt at the start of the game and all other Eternalists and Visionaries aside from 2 other people, is listed on a document about potential side effects of the time loop, so Wenji must have anticipated it. It is unclear whether she nonetheless expected to be able to keep count of how many days it's been and to pull the plug, or whether she just plain decided against it once she knew 50 years had passed. The fact is, however, that she realized early on in this loop sequence that Colt and Juliana were showing quote-unquote extraordinary mastery, and that this must mean that they retained their memories of the previous day, whereas other Eternalists and Visionaries did not. Wenji refers here to ourselves not as her and the other Visionaries, but as herself and the other Wenjis she's brought in from other timelines. Juliana tells Colt that Wenji figured out Residuum on day 7, though it is unclear by whose count of 7. Juliana also mentions that she has been using a memory compression technique to help her remember for over a century at that point. It is unknown how far into the loop she figured out how to do that, and whether she was starting to experience sundowning herself prior to that. All we know is that 50 years? We're well past that, and now things are getting pretty sticky because Colt has been experiencing sundowning, leading to his complete amnesia at the beginning of the game's story. His murderous rampages are not the result of him waking up at the start of his own shitty Groundhog Day with no idea who he is though. But I'll explain more about that in his video. If you've not played Deathloop and this is all Greek to you, then yes, Wenji opened breaches in time-space and has been running around in that lab of hers with about a dozen of herself. To be able to research more quickly and efficiently and make progress that way, Wenji's other timeline selves, similar to how the Juliana that invades Colt is never the same Juliana sitting in that moment up in the stabilizer core, and how Colt can meet his other selves, are visitors in this loop. Wenji worked out that this is possible by finding items dotted around the island that are imbued with residuum that Colt can hoover up. These are leftover items from small timeline breaches, but the breach is not stable, so the other Wenjis disintegrate every night when the loop resets. Wenji wants to make the breach permanent so she can retain her other selves permanently, thereby presumably also hoping to retain her memories. Wenji does not believe in Igor's pseudoscience, with good reason. She still helps him with tech, however, I guess mainly to stop him bothering her. She very strongly declines his request to quote-unquote babysit his experiments while he can't be at the array at the complex. Perhaps she helps him with the field nullifiers and things just in case something tangentially interesting to her work materializes. A broken clock's right twice a day and all that jazz. She did, however, after a country mile of covering her ass, agree to remove part of Charlie's fucking brain so that he could equip his AI 2-bit with a bioprocessor. What the fuck, Wenji? Something about Wenji that absolutely tracks. For someone so obsessed with contingencies, she sure loves her single points of failure, as Colt notes in his discoveries. She has a single pressurization control that can depressurize her lab, thus killing all the Wenjis inside. And similarly, there's not much stopping Colt from just plugging every single one of them with enough lead to kill them. So even though a dozen Wenjis is a lot to take on, once again there's a single point of failure, all of them converging in one place at the same time. This violates the LPP just as much as if every single visionary showed up at Alexis's party at night. She also has no patience for Harriet's belief that there is something going on with or causing the anomaly that cannot be explained by empirical science. To Wenji, everything is hard science. If Juliana and Colt let her, she'd saw through their craniums and pry their heads open to find out why they can retain their memories. It's a good thing then that she has no idea about Pick Rexley, the only other Eternalist known to retain their memories of the loop. Wenji doesn't like relying on others, so she brought in other versions of herself to help with the science, the only one she trusts. But she experiments on her own selves as well. Colt leaves a note to himself about Wenji being her own best lab rat. Look, unless you have science for her, she's not interested, which is why the only way to entice her to go to Alexis' goddamn party is to splice together a tape of Dorsey promising her he can get her access to those doors marked HZN, short for Operation Horizon, the military installation that was stationed on Black Reef before Eon moved in. Here's an Easter egg. At noon, you can head out to the complex. There's no Wenji there and her lab is shut tight, but if you head into the control center, you will find a few Eternalists on comms with her. I think they're the ones conducting the illegal experiment in Call's Bay in the afternoon. If you kill them while she's still berating them, you can interact with her through the microphone. Colt's prompt to say something intelligent is a reference to Han Solo inexpertly cosplaying a stormtrooper in Star Wars A New Hope. Wenji doesn't spend time with any of the other visionaries, only her other selves, and she attends Alexis' party at night alone. Well, meaning there's only one of her. If you sabotaged Ingo's equipment, he shows up too, and if all the other visionaries have been killed at the right time during the day, then Igor gets so utterly annoying that Wenji pushes him through a roof window just for the shiggles. To be fair, I'd do that too. Some trivia about Wenji. Her name is based on two characters from the sci-fi novel Three Body Problem by Cixin Liu, namely scientist Ye Wenjie and wealthy American Mike Evans. Another thing is that Wenji carries a lot of trinkets, but no slabs. It's unknown why she opted not to create a slab for herself, though. And now, for a weekly bit of fun, one of Dishonored's 7 strictures that reminded me of Wenji. Restrict the Restless Hands, which quickly become the workmates of the outsider. Unfettered by honest labor, they rush to sordid gain, vain pursuits, and deeds of violence. Of what value are the hands that steal and kill and destroy? Instead, put your hands to the plow, the fork, and the spade, for even the lowliest labor that is rigorous squeezes the muscles as a sponge, rinsing impurities from the mind and body. Well, folks, that's all about Wenji. And now I'm going to talk to my dozen other selves before they disappear when it's dark. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and leave a comment on your way out. It's really much appreciated. If you want to support my channel, check out my Patreon at patreon.com/AnnaMarabella or my Ko-fi page at ko-fi.com/grumble. You can either donate or become a monthly subscriber, receiving access to my writing and videos before everyone else, including the inside track about what I'm working on and what's coming up next this month. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss what's next in this series. Also check out my Deathloop videos, both live streams and Let's Play episodes, my recently completed Dishonored 2 Let's Play, and more lore videos. All of these playlists are on screen now. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fulfilling day.